We're learning new information about the conditions of Corrine Brown's release now that she is a convicted felon. Her travel is restricted. Her sentencing date has not been set and probably won't be for a while. We have two reports. Channel 4's Jim Piggott spoke with one of the jurors today, but we begin with the I-Team's Lindsay Gardner, who's been digging into a question many of you have been asking: why did the judge allow Brown to remain free? Lindsay?
Well, Tom, what I found is in our federal district, the Middle District of Florida, that decision to arrest a defendant upon conviction is really up to each and every judge. Some of them will remand once convicted right into custody immediately, but it appears that federal judge Timothy Corrigan and the United States government allowed the Congresswoman to go home. They granted her an exception yesterday, but I found that if and when she does go to prison and when she's sentenced in the next few months, if she is to serve prison time, it's likely she will not have a home to return to once she's released. Corrine Brown has lost nearly everything now. Indicted by the U.S. government while a sitting U.S. Congresswoman, she lost her district and the election. The charges then cast an ugly cloud of suspicion over her good works. Her conviction will likely now cost her her freedom. And in perhaps the ultimate irony, as a convicted felon, the once career politician will now never be able to vote in another election. I called a source connected to the trial and learned Brown can move freely within the Middle District of Florida while on release. She will have to give notice or ask permission if she wants to travel outside of that area. She didn't have to surrender her passport, but she cannot travel outside of the United States. In the coming week, she'll be assigned a court officer who will then conduct a pre-sentencing investigative report. That officer will interview Brown, look at the facts of the case, and prepare a report for the judge. In it, they'll provide the court the maximum punishment. They'll also make a recommendation to the judge, including prison time and financial restitution. Sources tell me since the government believes Corrine Brown was the mastermind of this scheme, they will likely ask her to repay $833,000 that the fake charity stole from donors. So again, the government likely to go after her for the whole kit and caboodle. To get it, the government has already filed a forfeiture notice with the court. Brown sold her beach home right before the trial, likely for her legal fees, but her two other homes still exist, one in Jacksonville, another in Virginia. The government is likely to take both of those, as well as search for any secret bank accounts where more one-door money could have been stashed.
Lindsay, another question we're hearing from many people today: is there now or will there be a mugshot of Corrine Brown?
So there is a mugshot. There has been one since the day she was indicted back on July 6th. It is with the U.S. Marshals. I called them today. They told me they will not be releasing it. In fact, they never release mugshots. So it's likely we will never see that mugshot. I also asked if we would get it if and when she's booked into federal prison, but they told me, again, that is not likely. And Tom, as you know, we are answering much more of these viewer questions coming up at 5:30.
Lindsay, thank you. We are learning more about what went on in the jury room when they decided to convict Corrine Brown on corruption, fraud, and tax evasion. That is, while the verdicts on the 18 counts she was found guilty of were unanimous, apparently there was a lot of discussion trying to get to that point. Channel 4's Jim Piggott joins us live at the federal courthouse. Jim.
You know, Judge Corrigan suggested to the jurors not to talk to the media, but we had one juror contact our newsroom, and he was concerned and did want to talk, but was a bit nervous about it. So we were able to talk to him about what happened there as long as we didn't identify him. 4 days of deliberation showed the jury had lots to think about, but the unidentified juror gave us some more insight into what really happened behind those closed doors. He talked about the juror who was dismissed and gave us details of what that juror said. He told the other jurors that the Holy Spirit told him Corrine Brown was innocent. In open court, Judge Corrigan wouldn't talk directly about that dismissed juror and what they said, only that it involved a higher power in Corrine Brown. The judge said another juror brought it to the court's attention. The juror we spoke to today also told us throughout the deliberations there were a handful of jurors who were not totally convinced Corrine Brown knew about the money being funneled out of the fake charity into lavish parties and events and even to line her pockets. He said that's why they asked questions about the tax charges and if they had to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the issues surrounding the mail and wire fraud. He said those questions helped everyone reach the same decision: guilty. One thing that this juror was telling us, too, that he felt nervous about the public reaction and therefore didn't really want to go on camera right yet, wants to think about it and decompress over the weekend. We're live from the federal courthouse. Jim Piggott, Channel 4, the local station.
Thank you, Jim. On news4jax.com, you can see the jury verdict form that was submitted to the judge yesterday, plus interviews and reaction after that guilty verdict was handed down.